But the Texans are hot, man. And C.J. Stroud in that MVP conversation. Mm-hmm. What are you looking for in this game? I'm going to pick up my stylus here.
Do that. Have fun. Good luck. Yeah, I mean,
got it.
How Arizona combats this Houston offense, it's been cooking. Like C.J. Stroud playing incredibly, but Bobby Slowick, PFF Bobby, doing an incredible job. Receivers are open. I think Nico Collins is going to be back this week. I think he claims he's going to be playing. So you got a good offensive line playing well. And remember, this isn't, we've mentioned that the line didn't look good on paper, but we did say this offense isn't just quarterback friendly. It's offensive line friendly as well. Like Miami's offense, their offensive line looks way better than it's supposed to on paper. San Francisco's offensive line looks better than it's supposed to on paper. This offense, whenever it goes anywhere, tends to elevate the play of the offensive line as well. So naturally, that group is going to look better than it would on paper in isolation. So the line's looking better. The receivers are looking better. C.J. Stroud looks great. Bobby Slowick doing a great job. This offense is doing a really good job. Arizona's defense still on paper looks horrendous. But it's been feisty. It's been playing above itself basically all the way through the season. There have been guys battling, guys showing up. Rookie Garrett Williams is playing now at corner. Has flashed some impressive ability. There's a few guys now from that defensive side and from this rookie class, honestly, that are starting to look like potential parts of the rebuild going forward. So can they slow down this Houston offense?
What you mentioned about the offensive line and maybe the system elevating the line, I think the most impressive thing about C.J. Stroud, and we'll throw Bobby in there because he's our buddy, but he is the play caller, right? And they have been personnel proof, I'd say, this year. They've had, like, when you looked at that roster coming into the year, I was thinking, hey, if they can get one of those uber possession years out of Robert Woods at wide receiver, that's C.J. Stroud's best friend. Give him a nice, dependable route runner that's going to get open. Woods has been in and out of the lineup and hasn't been the go-to guy. Nico Collins was the guy that was having this incredible season. And then last week, in their toughest game of the season against the Bengals with no Nico Collins, they're still producing. They're still moving the ball. They're still making the fourth quarter comeback and making big plays. So I think that's the most impressive thing when you're breaking down C.J. Stroud and you want to talk about MVP candidacy and all that stuff. I think that would be the element that you use. The stuff that we often make as excuses for quarterbacks that are viable, right? There are viable excuses when you say, hey, this quarterback's missing his top wide receiver for a couple games. That's a factor. Or they've had to reshuffle the offensive line the entire year. That is a factor. Those are legitimate excuses for quarterbacks and for offenses. And Stroud and the Texans have overcome all of those. They didn't miss a beat last week without Nico Collins. They haven't missed a beat at most of the season with the shuffling of the offensive line or not having a Laramie Tunsil, one of the most elite pass protectors in the league. So that's what I think I'm most impressed with there. Other storyline here is Arizona Cardinals have the Texans' first-round pick. It was them, right?
Yeah.
The trade up to go get Will Anderson. Mm-hmm. So the Will Anderson versus Paris Johnson matchup. Remember, there was rumors that Paris Johnson was who Arizona wanted at 3. They traded down to 6 and still took him. And the Texans traded up to 3 to get Will Anderson. So the old draft storylines, that one-on-one matchup, but also this is probably the biggest game of Arizona's season because as a team that's probably looking to next year, they get to help their draft status by getting a better pick with the Texans if they win. Of course, if they lose, they get their own pick that's close to the top anyway.
Right. I think both sides of the ball are interesting in this game. Like, we've been talking about how good the offense has been doing for Houston. Bobby doing a great job as offensive coordinator, but the defense shut down the Bengals for giant periods last week, right? The Bengals went down, methodically scored a touchdown, and then Houston's defense absolutely clamped down on them. There was, 5 straight punts and then a long 50-something yard field goal.
Yeah.
Houston's defense has been doing a really good job as well. And you would assume that's D'Amico Ryans, but there's other people involved there as well. Like, now you've got Kyler Murray to have to deal with. And we saw last week, Kyler Murray looks physically 100%. I mean, and 100% physical Kyler Murray is one of the most difficult quarterbacks in the NFL to contain, right? His ability to run around, to scramble, to make plays with his legs. And then you have to see, how much rust can he knock off in a week. But the Cardinals become a much more challenging team now with Kyler Murray back Trey McBride is presumably now going to be a featured part of this offense now that he's shown, hey, why don't we actually throw the ball to this guy who looks like a really impact receiving tight end that we drafted? Like, he's now jumped, Zach Ertz, etc. Now you've got Kyler Murray back, Trey McBride playing the way he's playing, Michael Wilson, the rookie, Hollywood Brown. Like, they've got playmakers there.
It is funny how the roster seems nothing against Josh Dobbs, because I thought he played his heart out and did well. But when you have Kyler there and he's able to distribute a little bit better and take advantage of throwing the ball down the field a little bit more.
I mean, he's a better quarterback than Josh Dobbs with all of the same advantages, with all the same strengths.
Right. I was just going to make the point that it makes it look a little bit better.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
it makes the roster feel a little bit better and certainly more competitive.
They went from being competitive every game with Josh Dobbs to now, like, let's just take what we had at Dobbs, the most important player on that side of the ball, and like make it 120%. I mean, that might be the difference between being competitive and actually winning some games.
The one last thing I want to say about this game is from a Houston Texans standpoint. If you were to sum up the first half-ish of the season, you would say the run game was pretty much non-existent. The defense was inconsistent, but they showed flashes, and you just mentioned last week against the Bengals, had a really nice stretch and did a nice job. That's if they can get those two things going, right? They've gotten to this point as a 5-4 team. They've gotten here largely by the passing offense. And now, last week they ran the ball really effectively with Devin Singletary, and from a volume standpoint, if they can get a little bit, not balance, again, from a 50-50 run-pass split, but just more successful run plays. Fewer second and longs, third and longs for Stroud. Run the ball a little bit more effectively, and then DeMeco Ryans gets his fingerprints on this defense more and more. I mean, the Texans have a chance to be even more dangerous 3, 4, 5 weeks from now than they feel at the moment. And I think that's just impressive what they've done as a whole.
Yep. By the way, somebody in the chat says Zach Ertz is on IR. I know he is. My point is, like, McBride, I think, has jumped him with the performance he's had since he's been given the opportunity.
Oh, yeah. Like, Ertz isn't coming back to be tight end one at any point. All right, man, 5 points. Texans are favored now, just showing how things have changed here.
In Houston.
Houston.
All right, I'm going to go Arizona.
Give me Arizona, because Houston, I mean, they're winning, but they're winning these nice close games, these tight games.